Okay, so I don't know if you guys know about this thing. Because FBI is looking for Robert Fisher. They can't figure it out. Oh, this story is actually perfect for the tail end of this whole like hours long thing that is going on about. Um, it fit into this whole thing, and the ignorance and maybe the word just like naive in this thing. I don't like the humanizing of this guy so much when it's obvious the guy's a total socio. Like, actually, this is one of those ones where you could look at him and you're like, oh no, nope. So this is one that might have the genetic fact, the additions in it. I don't know what that is. It could be. In some pictures, okay, you know how I pulled up Britney's thing because a lot of us are paying attention to that, right? So, the eye thing, or talk about the eye thing. Like, if there's any like manicky thing going on here, I don't know. Mania stuff, I don't know. I have no idea if that's an addition, but no, there's physical traits. So another thing about him is his social cues are off. Okay, so those were another flags, right? This case actually happened in 2001 in Scottsdale. Um, and he also was out here in California for a short time, but out in, I guess, San Diego. I don't know at what time. This is kind of a guy that may have like a double life going on. Um, and he's very calculated. I love this story is so terrible because the women in it, like you almost want to like knock all the pastor, the preacher, the family out for them going, like the wife was saying, he's controlling, which is abusive, right? So nobody should be all controlling like that. You know what I mean? Just in a general thing, it's a sign of something bad. He's a military guy. Um, I don't know if he got booted out or so, I don't know, something weird. But anyway, there's that in addition. I think his father was or something and then left. They kind of try to justify his detachment issues to because the father left so he doesn't get close to anybody. I was like, that wouldn't turn somebody into a raging sociopath, okay? Like it would be I know there's certain people that they have like abandonment issues, right? But they don't turn into this. So there's additions, right? So you have this military thing. And so other flags in this case were that the way he's treating his kids is not proper. Here's the thing with the military thing. Your kids are not going to war. So you should not be raising your kids like they're joining the freaking military. So that's a indicate I would hate to see how that son would have grew up because it probably wouldn't be good. I'm just saying, because the way this father's being, but he's treating the daughter like a little soldier. And it's like, what the heck? And like an object. You'll actually visually see the socio treating people like objects. It's a weird thing. Like he's like, turn around again. And then he yanks her hair so hard in this sadistic look on his face. I'm going to tell you something about these features that is really weird because you could even see it in the Columbine picture with the guy that they dubbed, a psychopath. When they smile, it's very sinister, right? I think that has to do with the fact that there's no like genuine happiness there. There's something there. Like I said, there's a lot into it, and mostly because I've been a victim of a million of these fools that you as a victim like this is just part of nature. So when you know you need to survive, right? So you start to notice features and looks, and animals do this really well. Like they look at each other, right? And they kind of try to figure is this person like the other animal a danger or whatever in front of me is a danger, and there's a glare or an animal that you see it's probably a danger and then they're going to come and attack you, right? There's a look, right? So if you pay attention to his pictures, at no time does he have a genuine smile. He has some very oddball pictures where his eyes are bizarre. The way he's talking to everybody has it's not proper. Yanking on your daughter's hair, so he has some physical violent problem, kind of, because it's like, who does that? And you're only seeing a tiny glimpse of what he did on camera, right? So what does he do off camera, right? And it was like, duh, like the whole time. But with the church people, now, see, for a sociopath, the Christian doctrine that is male supremacy, these socios love it because it feeds into their ego narcissistic bullshit where they're like, I am the all powerful of the head of the house, that type of shit. So that may be why he was into it, just because of the upbringing, and everybody in the story is a Bible thumper from hell. And now the dad of the victim, the mother that got killed in it, is kind of one of those dads where it's like, I think I'm doing the right thing, going to church and doing this thing. And not that very arrogant type, but I'm sorry, any man that is totally into Christianity has a narcissistic problem, because the whole thing is about how great you are and you're the head of everything, the leader of this and that. So none of these people are going to see what the problem is here at all. None. And then the other thing that's gross about it is that the dad's like being all forgiving to a guy that literally slaughtered his freaking daughter. There's something kind of mentally off kilter with that. I know people are trying to process stuff, but if that church thing wasn't there, nobody would be acting like that. Let's be real. Um, so there's a major problem with that stuff there too. So they were cuddling it since he was a kid, right? So he could even go kill somebody and people are still, we love you. Okay, it's like, this is a major issue. So, and the sister too. And here's the funniest part. That dude don't give a shit about none of y'all. You guys are all crying for him and everything else. That dude don't give a shit about nobody. Now, I don't know if he's alive or not, but I will say there was a couple of clues in this case that was kind of interesting, because I was listening to it. He actually looks like, it was funny. I should actually touch on this first because it's the fuckery of law enforcement. They get this neighbor guy and he's not making any sense, okay? They're talking to him and he's like, the way that I seen it was she was abusing him. I'm like, nope, 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 nope. I already know what's going on here. The socio, the male, and also his version, he's probably this problem too. They're abusers, and so what are you going to see coming back at the abuser, right? You're going to see one of two things. Now, the way that men want to see it is women submitting to men and not saying anything back, right? Oh, she's being cooperative. She's not abusive. She's doing what I say, right? Right? So the male, if they see a woman defend herself against the abuser, then men automatically go, she's the abuser. Yeah, this has been going on. Totally saying it. Because at no point can you ever defend yourself without them saying that. Can you point out where they have? Never. Okay, so that's bullshit. He was full of shit right there. So I knew that much. Because everybody else is saying other things, right? So then the FBI goes and uses him as a pawn. Oh, this is good. Like, this was good. This just shows you how dumb FBI is half the time anyway. I was like, don't think I'm just picking on him because, like, you think I'm arrogant or anything like that. It's just they were hella shitty to me. They had all these opportunities to go after a whole bunch of things. They chose that it wasn't important enough for them because, So anyways, or that I'd be making something up, like, about, do you guys think I want to go to jail? No, I don't. So, yeah, I do have that level of like, no, thank you. Because yes, if you go to law enforcement, start making shit up. Now the threat to that, the like, these guys can make shit up on me, and depending on how they want to view it. So my situation was a kidnapping, but the way that they view kidnapping is like, oh, buy a gun or something and all this. And so, no, that's actually not proper. It's not proper because they even use it in other cases that they lure these people somewhere and then they die, and then that's kidnapping. We know the real term of kidnapping, but just because government doesn't mean that what I'm saying is not kidnapping. I didn't even really know that guy. Like, I was making jokes about it. I was like, that guy was like trying to marry me and shit, and like I was just like, whatever. But even in my modeling school, I didn't even mention him. Like I said, I lived alone. It was really weird. I don't know. Um, all survival from the situation. And I'm a kid, so no adult legally can just snag a kid off a street, you know what I mean, and take him to their house. There's no consent in the situation because I didn't consent to be here because I can't consent to be here legally by any means, okay? But government here and FBI was way okay with parents dumping their kids off and letting men just randomly take them, okay? Yeah, such as the rainbow story. That's a whole different clip. I will get into that later. Just there's so many. Mm-mm. Those are actually good things coming up. I was like, see, it's all justified. I was like, that place should have been closed down a million years ago. You know, considering there's this big war on drugs, like why was that place protected? Can you explain that, government? In your child raping shit over there. Okay, so this case is ridiculous. So they get this neighbor and they tell him, okay, we found this guy. We got a call in Canada or something like that. We want you to physically identify him. This is the perfect thing because I was like, even me, you guys, I mean, I know myself, right? I see myself every day in the mirror. However, if you go back to like 1991 and 2 and you pull out a picture and I'm supposed to be in the picture, it's hard for me to identify myself in the picture sometimes because I don't remember what I looked like in that time, right? Because it's so long ago that I'll look and I'll go, is that me? I literally had this happen. So I was like, oh my God, that's a trip. I'm not sure. It could be me. I know that I had like these type of things on me at the time. That is probably me. You know what I mean? It went through this thing. I was like, I could barely identify myself, right? So if you could barely identify yourself, now, it wouldn't be from like, a picture from yesterday or something, but I'm talking about it was like a long period of time went on. So, and then, this photo comes up and I'm like, I bet that's probably me, but I don't remember looking like that, but maybe it was, I was like that. So if you're a neighbor, like, now I know my neighbors, but it's like, let's say like 5, 10 years goes by and then FBI's like, okay, come over here and we're gonna put you as a pawn. They're such assholes. And when we bring this guy in, this innocent guy, when we bring this guy in, I guess they like arrested him or something. I shouldn't laugh. It's pretty fucked up because somebody called and was like, hey, we think this is the guy, right? They didn't even do the DNA thing back then. I don't know what the hell happened here, but they just take the guy, right? I think. And they had the neighbor there. I'll look at him. Is that him? And then the neighbor's like, yes, it's totally him. Yes. And I was like, holy shit. What if they just like totally booked that guy and just threw him in prison? Just because the neighbor said that. He's like, that's totally him, dude. And then guess what happened? Oh my God. They go and check his fingerprints and shit. It's totally not him. And I was like, see, that's why I don't like going by photos or just like that alone, right? Like it probably has to have some additions. Like it would be a tail off, right? Like I look at somebody and go, God, they look kind of familiar. Like this Robert guy looks kind of familiar. And then they were saying like a lot of people think that, right? So the only time he doesn't look familiar is like when they actually show video. I think the video footage is way more helpful than photos. The photos, if you go through the series of photos that they put, um, he looks quite different in each of them. Now I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's just him going through personality changes or if it's just I don't know. It's a bizarre thing because at the beginning he's dressing. Oh my God, it was hilarious actually. He looks like he's in a boy band, right? And then he bleached the top of his hair and he's in overalls. I was laughing at the overall thing because it's like you wouldn't catch me dead in overalls because the overall thing correlates to, people that worked in the fields or at that time boy bands or some rappers, I guess, but pretty much like the boy band thing, I think. I don't know, but I was not into that. And so anything that those little preppy kids wore, I wouldn't not. Like, so he's wearing overalls, his little bleachy, boy band look thing going on there in like 92 or 90 something. And then these changes, he starts going through these changes. He's wearing like a hat. Then he starts looking, I don't know, just a little wacky, more wacky as it goes. And then he reminds me of a couple of people actually. And I was like looking at him. I was like, yeah, he has this like look of familiarity. You know what I mean? Like that type of thing. It's weird. And I was like, I don't see how I would have ran into him. You know what I mean? I'm looking at it going, I don't think it's that. I think might be that certain features are reminding me of like several people. Because I was thinking about it, I go, oh, kind of that dude, huh? And no, but it's not him. It kind of reminds me of this other guy, and not him. And they're saying he could fit into a crowd. I was like, yeah. But when you see him on video and you hear his voice, I think that's more helpful to people because you get to see the different angles of his face, like the features, the movement, the jaws, the chin. Like there is certain things on the chin. There's things like that. So when you're talking to people, those are the things that would actually stand out versus, oh, that guy looks like I'm in this one pic, because each pic he looks like different people. Like you look at one pic and it's like, oh, I might say a guy that looks like that. You look at this other pic and there might be somebody that looks like that. So then also he could have gained weight, right? And then they would look way different. He could have grew his hair out long. He could have, shaved it all off. And I was just like, well, so much time has gone by now that the dude could be anywhere. Um, do I think he's alive? I'll tell you a couple of things that would lead you to think that he was alive. At least the initial plot of it. I do actually think he plotted it for a long time. And I know when I was watching this documentary, it was saying that this documentary's old. It's from 2011. I just had to pull it up because of my thing on Prime. But because FBI threw the picture out again, or somebody did, and I was looking at something else, and then I saw the case, and I was like, "Oh, who can FBI not find now?" I was like, but so I was just trying to see where they're effing up. Okay, so one thing that was interesting. Okay, so he already had a double life because he already cheated on his wife, but he went to a massage parlor. So that may be a clue where this is like places that he frequents, right? He's also this like weird wacko religious guy too, on top of it. They're all fucked up. I was like, they're all of them. So the sister seems so the thing about the sister, I was like, she seems totally like sane, normal, uh very naive, but she's also taught to put up with it. So you'll notice this, like she was abused in the sense that she's supposed to take these type of abusive actions as being normal and makes excuses for him. It's like, but that's just how my brother is. Yeah, no, that shouldn't have been a just, this is how my brother is. No. That was a flag, and that's a scary flag, and this guy wants to go commit family-cide. Okay, so yeah, and he would be the prime type of person to do it, right? The arrogant, controlling piece of shit. And he's oddball. Like there's behaviors that are not like his social cue. Like the thing about him is just not right. Like I don't know why he's pointing, doing this weird thing. And then they said that when they went hunting on one thing, that they all went hunting and he started rubbing blood all over himself, right? So these are some oddball things, like what the F? And then he's being like military dad to the daughter. It's just bizarre. He's making her march around with this gun thing. It's just no. Nuh-uh. We don't need little Hitlers, okay? We're not going to war. Children are not going to war. We do not need to pacify them in life, okay? So this is the thing that's creating these socios anyway. That'd be scary to see how that girl would. I mean, I would hope she wouldn't. Maybe because the mom's like, at the time was like the sane secondary in it, maybe. So, you know, like you just don't know. That's just one of those things you don't know. It's kind of a crapshoot. It's like, where's this gonna go? It may go bad. She could be the biggest bully in school eventually, or or who knows. He's pulling her hair, man. I was like, what the fuck, dude? And no, his reaction to it was almost like, oh, the camera's on right now, so, watch it, kid. Don't try to hit me. Like, this look. That's how he was being. And then, they have this strict military religion. Both those things. The combo of that is so toxic that and that's why they fought, right? Because who would deal with that? Because it's not sane. It's not healthy. So you're gonna have these problems. So he views in life people as objects. It's not, oh, this poor guy didn't want to get attached. That's not it. He views people as objects. And so to cheat on her is just like, whatever, So it's like, you know what? You're just garbage to me today. So, we're going to go do this. Then he gets an STD. You got to love it. And I think that maybe that was the only reason why he outed that particular thing right there. Because how could you, like, get away with that, right? You're going to get caught because of that. But the rest of it, you don't know what he's doing here, right? You don't know what he's doing in this second world of his, right? And it's bizarre, because I don't know what he did in San Diego. Like, you'd want to, like, check areas that he'd been, right? Because it's like, I don't know. I don't understand it. I don't know that they all lived in Arizona and he just left and went to go work in San Diego alone or something for a while, or what? I don't know. I don't understand it. And then he was like this nurse guy, and I used to work with the nurses, right? Like a long time ago. But this case is far out past any of that time. So I was like, no, nothing there. So, okay. Then, and it's kind of creepy because if he's into murder and death, he's like a nurse. And so maybe that was feeding into something there. The animal thing again is kind of interesting. So I was going to point out something with that, but he did rub blood all over him from other animal stuff, right? He enjoyed killing for the other thing. But the dog, right? That's a Chase Mare thing. He likes dogs. He's not going to kill the dog. Isn't it funny? He cared more about that dog than his own kids, right? And he doesn't care about any of them because he even left the dog. He just didn't kill him. He didn't kill the dog. He's kind of like, you deserve to live. So, but my kids and wife are garbage. Like, I think the whole time the kids were just such an annoyance to him that it's just like, because of the church indoctrination, maybe it was like one of those things where he's like, this is what I'm supposed to do. And then we had these kids, and it's just like these objects. Yeah, they were like objects. When you just watch them, it's just weird. It's not. There's no attachment, and they're just like objects, like you're getting sent at the grocery store. It's hard to explain, but yeah, like you could actually physically see it with them. It's just like, what? I don't know. Anyway. The guy was off kilter the whole time. Like, there's flags everywhere, okay? Like, let's just say there's flags everywhere. And we're not cuddling this guy down. The church sucks. And they're like, they were wonderful people together. He's like, he's just a little dominator. Put up with it. And then you got her killed, right? These people that enabled it got her killed. Let's just be honest. If you see a fucking guy like that, no, you need to help them escape, okay? It's not a thing. You just need to put up with it and deal with it. It's like, that's what they did. That's what they did. They are at fault. A lot of these people in here are at fault. So you guys enabled an abuser, and you could have, like, I don't know how you could. I mean, because he may have always been this way to where, like, if she tried to leave or divorce or anything, he was going to do something horrible, right? So then what he does, this is another thing that he did that he's calculated and he's like ahead of himself. Like he's thinking futuristically, maybe even, where he goes to his friends. I don't know how many people, what he told everybody up in here, but like one part where he's like, I'm suicidal, when he's just talking shit, right? Like he's like making up this sort of it's almost like um a pre thing to a future plan, like where he probably won't kill himself, but he's like saying this to other people. And so they like to manipulate everybody in their circle, right? All their friends, whoever, whoever. And so then I guess he threw that out there at some people. But obviously, if he's going to do it, he's going to do it. He's not going to just run over there and say some bullshit like that. Somebody like that, like you have to know what's going on in his mind to know where that's coming from. Okay. So, but then you see the end of the story here. So, it would seem like maybe he was trying, he could have been, here's the thing, he could have actually been throwing that out there. So then when he did what he did, that people thought that he was one of the people in the fire. And I actually do think that was probably the original thought to this, because regardless if they were fighting, we don't know why they were fighting, right? It could have been him confronting her in something. I don't know how they got that they were fighting. I don't know who said what or how they found that out, really. A neighbor heard? I don't know. Something interesting in here where they go, yeah, earlier in the day he was changing the oil in his car. I'm like, how do you guys know that? I don't know how they know that. Maybe a neighbor caught him or on cam. If that happened, I was like thinking about it because they're like, yeah, it's such a weird thing. Like, how would he pre-plan? Why would he pre-plan it and then he burned the car? Why did he change the oil in the car and then burn the car? And I was like thinking about it. I was like, well, maybe the original plan, because this could tell you that there may have been an original plan to use the car. Because he may have thought about it, right? Because why are you changing the oil, right? Unless you're going to go for a long drive, right? Like you're doing this thing. So I was thinking like maybe the original plot was I'm going to use my car, right? And then maybe he thought about it more and thought, oh, you know what? I should leave this car here. And then we're going to do this thing. He has to think about this, you guys, to have that gas thing and everything. Like who would think of this? Like I wouldn't even know to do that. I would never do that, but I mean, I would not even let's just say all of a sudden I did some crime right now. I wouldn't even know to do that action right there, or that it would even do that, right? So he had to have plotted, he had to have thought this out for a long time at some point. So he may have been entertaining it for like a long, long time. Because would you guys think of that? Because what he did was he unhooked the water heater gas line and then lit a candle thing. How many of you guys out there would even think, I mean, not that you guys would do that, okay? Not that you guys would even do that, but would you ever think or even know that you could do that and blow up a house like that? Like, I don't know. It's just one of those things that you would have to think about it. You would have to know that it could do that. You wouldn't necessarily know that it could do that. Because we're not all thinking of blowing up a house. So, that's kind of what you want to avoid is gas leaks. But even still, like, a gas leak may not, a certain type may not do that. And why that? And why did you pick that particular thing? You know what I mean? There's a whole thing to it. Brain had to already be there. Your brain had to already go there before to even go on like that. So it could have been a thing where he was plotting to do it for quite a while. Like, I want to kill this woman and just rid of everything. Like for a period of time. Like I don't know how long. And it could have been a thing where over time, like it's almost like they stopped at the last day before he took off. But what about prior? Is there evidence that he was taking money prior, like little portions of money, right? And is it like not accountable? Like technically, maybe it's too hard to figure out that he was slowly doing something. Because your normal everyday activities, let's say you go to the bank, like every month you go to the bank, you pull out like a certain amount of money, and you don't necessarily know where it goes, right? Like you could go pay, your bills, or, go spending on, the kids or whatever, but you don't really pay attention to it because it's like an average everyday type of thing. But you don't know what he did with every single dollar of that. Because if he's going to massage places, well, he obviously took money out and probably paid some cash and did something on the side, right? In a secondary life thing, right? And if you're wanting to leave this other life, then you have this other life going on already. Already, I don't think he probably never stopped having a secondary life doing whatever. But it's because they target sex workers because they're women. Because government here, FBI and them hate women so much, and they go after Backpage and things like that. Could have been half the victims of this guy, that they would have came forward, or they could have came forward and identified him, but they effed themselves up the butt, right? Don't you say? That's male supremacy. I think it's funny that FBI would think any differently. But actually, they actually liked women ever, like the men and women that work there. You could probably solve cases much better if you didn't like actually be male supremacists that target women all the time. Because if he's doing stuff like that, some of the key clues could be places that he has visited like that, or has hooked up with somebody in that realm of that universe. And that is a possibility. I don't know. It's just the thing that was interesting was the oil change, because I'm like, it just so happened to be on the same day that this bullshit happens, right? So I was thinking it may have been a change of plans. And it would make sense. And so another key clue here is that if somebody's suicidal, guys, they're not going to take all their clothes with them. That is not, I can't tell you any case that has been like that. If you go through cases where somebody's suicidal, they usually leave everything behind. And why would you go kill yourself elsewhere when you just literally set the whole house on fire? You know what I mean? Like, take yourself there. You know what I mean? That's typically what they do in those cases. There are cases where they go kill somebody and they run off and then they go do something to themselves. But the additions in it is like, why would he take all his clothes out of the house? There would be no use for that, right? So if you're in that state, there's no use for taking all your clothes. And so it doesn't, so those two things right there were kind of some interesting things. So what may have happened is there was a change of plans at the end, and it may have been like, oh, I could light the whole house on fire. I'll singe it, and they'll not know they'll see bones, right, or something. Like his thinking is probably that. And then so if I take her car, they'll think that she did it, and I do think that was probably the thing about it. They were trying to figure out like why did he take that car, and yeah, there may have been a change of his plot in it. He probably thought about it even more, and probably it was a thought before she came home. It was probably an ongoing plot in his head about doing it. That's the thing about it. So I maybe it was like right when he, when you think about something and it sounds great, but then once you do it, you're like, oh, wait a minute, I didn't think of this. And then there may have been like a change of, oh, I'm gonna take her car instead, and versus the other, because it's just ridiculous. So then he takes off. It's so weird. So then he takes off. He takes the dog, takes the gun with them. And so there's some people that think he went out and then just blew his brains out somewhere like in the wilderness. And it's kind of like, why would you, I mean, I guess you could try to justify pulling out $280 by not knowing exactly how much money you need to go on this little travel trip. But again, why would you bring all your clothes? Like it's just you would want to destroy him, right? He destroyed everything else, so why would you? What does it think about the clothes? Can you guys answer that? That's really bizarre. Okay, so he's already like, F the world, F my life. I want a new start, but I'm gonna take all my clothes. Um, I don't know exactly why that would be. Other than he moved in somewhere with somebody. You're gonna go commit suicide somewhere and you're gonna have all your clothes with you? I mean, what is that? When you're suicidal, you don't give a shit, dude. You're gonna be wearing your same clothes for a few days. Like they really like that's the train. Like their mind is you're gonna leave. So what they care about presentation, like you know what I mean? It's not that thing. So that's why I'm like, and the dog thing was interesting because the dog was probably freaked the hell out because, and he probably let it loose because you know, if he had it stuck on there, then the dog wouldn't have a chance to live. So, and at nighttime, all those creepy crawlers out in the wilderness would probably scared the hell out of that dog. It may have started getting attacked by some wild animals and he ran underneath the car. That's probably maybe what happened there. Because I was thinking about it, I was like, well, if he committed suicide somewhere and he had the dog, and then like the dog's not going to typically run back to the car. Like the dog might actually stay by them. The gun would scare the hell out of it though, but uh, that, and it would have possibly had indicators. I don't know. It would depend. I don't think that happened. And then it ran back to the car. I would think that the dog would stay with the owner. The gun would definitely scare the dog though. It would freak the dog out, where it might run off. That's the old. I mean, like that scenario right there. Like, I mean, that's one of those scenarios that could possibly happen. But again, why would you take all your clothes? And so when they searched the area, I don't know if they searched up in the trees though. I don't know if that's another like a suicide forest. I mean, I don't know if they checked up in the trees. That would be crazy. Thing. There's a clue there. There's a clue with the oil thing and the clothing thing. And the fact the way how he did the house is a thought out plan. That is definitely a thought out plan. But why only $280? When they said he went to the ATM and pulled out money, I'm thinking he's like pulling out a tank of money. And he may have had, here's the other thing with it. He may have been stashing money for a long time. And then he had got more, right? But I think, didn't he leave change in the car? There was like a snapshot of the wife's car and it looked like he left a bunch of quarters and stuff like that. I'm like, so he's not going to take the rest of the money there? I guess he doesn't want change. He's like, I just want bills, dude. That was kind of weird. But they said he left the car like spotless clean, like wiped down possibly. I don't know if there was strange. Mostly when you have kids, right? Like your car isn't a little messy or anything. Um, the oil change and the clothes and the action of the crime. I know. That reporter guy is so annoying. I seen him on something else and he thinks he knows it all. Like no, he's like there's no indication that anything was pre-planned or any of this stuff and we believe that his body is out in that forest and all we're gonna see is a leftover gun. And I was like, what? Sure, that's a scenario. Sure, that's possible, but I wouldn't talk so confidently like that. I'm saying I'm saying I'm saying that the a scenario like that could be possible, like where the gun scared the dog and the dog ran back to the car. And then the wildlife scared it so much and it was all freaked out. And but again, you need to answer for why is this clothes gone and why pull out. I don't know. You wouldn't need $280 to drive to that city. That city is only, and it could be maybe he just had no idea where he was gonna go. That could be another thing. But let me see. There's some plot here. He's a total calculator. That's the thing. This is why I'm letting you guys know. He's a calculated guy. So, um, he was thinking about it. He definitely was thinking about it prior. Um, like entertaining the thought at a minimum. So watch if you go from Payson to Scottsdale. My grandparents used to live out in is it Sun City West or so, I don't know, somewhere out here. Okay, so um it's an hour drive. Like how much is gas for an hour drive? It wouldn't be $280. Someone thought, oh, a hotel room. I was like, well, if you got a hotel room, did you guys not look at the hotels? Like, it's odd that people would think he would live in the forest. He's not living out in the wilderness. Are you crazy? He could have for a short time and went somewhere else, but like if he's alive and everything, no. What he's gonna do, the way you can get away with something like this is if you had a person helping you and that they had that you've been living with them the whole time and then they helped maybe they can help them gain a new identity. Um yeah. Our fam I told you that lady was kind of hard to find because she did get a new identity. And but it wasn't illegally done or anything like that. But if there's ways to do it illegally, so like it's almost like nobody knew who he was. Is the weirdest story ever because like the family is ignorant as hell. The other family's ignorant as hell. Ignorant. I mean, strong ignorant. It's like strong ignorant. He wouldn't do those that one time he cheat that really he was honest when he told her. I was like it's like me as a kid. I was like I stole, but I was really honest because I got asked, you know what I mean? I was like no but that doesn't tell you about all the other times he did that, right? And how come those people that he had these things with unless they have come forward and those are the parts of the story where they're not sharing but more than likely he probably had those little side things, you know, with sex workers or something of that nature. I almost was questioning, was he a serial killer? When they, well, just because he fits the general profile and then he's like rubbing blood all over himself and he's like really into murdering and then he did this side thing and I was like, oh, wouldn't it be crazy if like the dude was like murdering off, maybe that's why they weren't coming forward, right? I was like, maybe he's like murdering off all the sex workers and then they can't come forward and say that that they're his victim, right? And then the wife is like not liking because they start acting weird, right? And so some bullshit right there. And then he's like, you know what? I'm gonna just finally annihilate them all too, you know? Like it's too thinking about it. Thinking about it, because nobody just randomly does that, like on a whim, right? Like I'm pissed off at my wife, I'm gonna blow, you know, do this, and then come up with that. I don't know. It's just a thing about it where I'm just like, that's too thought out. Like you had thought about it before you even did it. And then it's just like when you snap, it's not even a snap, okay? Like whenever he decided, he's like, I'm done, you know? They think because they think for a different reason. And I mean, I don't know. It's another one of those things because the guy's like, you know, If I can't have you, no one can, but I get to have everybody else I want. That's the guy. So you think that guy is going to go out and kill himself? I mean, he might, like they have, but it's only so they don't get caught. That's what's missing in it. It's like, did he have any friends? Like, what the fuck? There was no friends in the story. It's like this guy that lives in this like secluded world, and then like nobody knows him, and then he's like working at a as a nurse, and then where's these guy friends? Like, there's I mean, there was people that went hunting with them, like those guys, but it's like they didn't talk on this thing. Like some portions of this documentary was cheesy as hell. Like the end, it's like, do not put a psychic on here. Like what the everybody's nuts on here. Oh, the church we had not had, and then you got a fucking psychic at the end. Then you got that annoying reporter guy, and then we got the stale toast FBI guy who has like no emotion, but he's just like, you know, none of these things. I don't know that thing. And then you have the snarky woman. I think she's another FBI woman. They're mean too, okay? Like, she's like, somebody, I don't know, like, the whole thing is just like, what is going on here? Then the asshole guy who's like, you know, I thought this was bad when I started the case, but then I got kids, and then all of a sudden I'm more pissed. I was like, oh, before raping kids and killing them and everything was, not that bad. Up until you had your own kid. Now all of a sudden it turned, see, these men, they had no, we are objects to them. They don't really care. And they don't care how this even came about. And they don't see the problem within themselves as to why that guy came out. So annoying. They don't see it, but it's obvious to me. And so the woman, no, the woman was annoying too. She's kind of like the type that would like want to start shit with me. And I was like, yeah, totally, like the thing. Because somebody asked her, it was just stupid. It was actually a weird question, but I guess I don't know if it's the neighbor that was during this or somebody else, but when they thought it was the guy in Canada, there was people like, could he change his fingerprints? And then she's just like, that whole snarky, snotty thing is just like, um, um, it's like you should answer that professionally, you know what I mean? Because there are some dumb people out here that actually think that can be a thing. Instead of being like, you know? It's crazy. Yes, they will be really shitty to me. I don't like that thing right there because it's like not everybody's as educated as you. So like if they fucking ask a question like that, you should respond as a professional and say, as much as people like to talk about that, that is generally not a thing. And if they did that, you know what I mean, like in a professional manner like that. But it was weird. You could tell she's like eye roll. Yeah, that's some fucking CIA bullshit. I don't know. That's why I said I go those nutty CIA people. I don't even know what the fuck the CIA. I don't know. I have no reason to talk about them other than that they're a bunch of rapists and that they were called out for being a bunch of rapists. But the fingerprint thing was weird. So I was like, oh yeah. I mean, you're the one that's supposed to be educating people on that, not being a shit fuck and rolling your eyes. Because for some reason, I don't know why, people think that you could change your fingerprints. I remember people saying this shit forever, and it's just like, whatever. Oh, yeah, you can put this glue thing on your finger. Like, it's just stupid shit. I was like, oh, you don't think they would figure that out when they're doing the print itself? Yeah. There's people that said that. They put, like, some glue thing on their finger. Like, I swear, like, from eons ago. Um, it's like they don't want to believe that that guy is not the guy. I swear that's the guy. It's not the guy. I know it's him. I know it was my neighbor. That's why I said that fucking lineup, dude. You guys could have threw an innocent guy in prison, dude. That would be so shitty, dude. And they've done it a million times, but it would be FBI's fault. If it was only 10 years prior to that, it probably would have happened. They go, oh, the neighbor said it's you. He pulled you out of the lineup. Sorry, we don't care that this lady saying you're his mom. I was like, what the fuck? How did it even get that far? Wouldn't they check that first? You know what I mean? I don't know, but he came in there with a lawyer, so it's like them going at him. I was like, you guys just horrible, right? Horrible tactics, right? That's what I'm trying to point out. I go, they're atrocious. We're gonna get this guy drunk and try to like kidnap him to another state. We're not gonna call that kidnapping, kids, because us men can do that anytime. We're gonna get you drunk and take you where we want. We're gonna try to coerce you into this other thing. This is why we don't believe in rape, because coercion is, you wanted it. Okay, yeah, that's our government. And no, we're not for these tactics. Okay. But I could see where if they showed a picture going, does that look like the guy? That's what I'm saying, going, then that's kind of a tail off, like, okay, we should look more into it and check his background. And then ask him, maybe even ask him some questions. You probably wouldn't even need to get to the point of asking him some questions if, those things are coming together, it's not them. But then you might want to, if he's like assuming a new identity, then, you do these things. You don't need to arrest people or, cause this other thing. Like, it's just, I just cannot take these people at all. Yeah, I mean, the only way you can get away with this crime basically is somebody's helping him, or he was able to travel off really far somewhere, and then he just assumed he came up with a new identity somehow. Like, a lot of people just start using a new name. They don't even need to. When would you need to really use your social security? Like, you can make up anything half the time. So then you just start using it, and then he could have found another way to use somebody else's identity. If he's being that criminal, he may have pre-done that. Like, he may have already got that whole thing set up. We don't know. That's the thing, right? Because there's no, like, whatever he did, because he's this, like, military-minded, like, a little bit survivalist type of guy, like, that type of shit where he's, like, plotting and thinking and, like, not that he's, like, they're trying to say he's not, like, this major, like, Ted Nugent dude, but, like, he's aware criminally of, like, things that you could do. He could have hooked up with a woman and she know about it. He's like, I finally got rid of my family, so now we can be together. And then she came and picked him up, and then they're off in the yonder. That absolutely could have happened. That's kind of a problem in here, because it's like, yeah, that way, yeah, he would totally get away with it like that. They would have a hard time getting married unless he did assume a new identity. They would just be living together somewhere. That'd be hella oddball. It's all like nearby. $280 ain't enough to run that far though. That's what I'm saying is like, either he had a mad pile of money put away and he was preparing, or money in the glove, this thing. Let me pull it up again. I should have paused. My eyes up for you. I feel bad for that dad though.
Kind of hoodwinked.
He's just so naive. He's like, I love it. Yeah. It's like, please stop, please stop. I'm like, the guy like totally brutally murdered your daughter. You need to get some hate there. That's when hate is healthy. That's when hate is healthy. This annoying neighbor on this thing. Oh yeah, it's totally, yeah. It's like, hilarious. No, I need to see the card thing. What they were saying, what was left in the card. Because where's his see the clothes thing? The clothes. You don't know when he removed the clothes, you guys. That's the thing. I was like, could he have removed the clothes long before this? And they're at another location. Why would he leave change, though? You know what I mean? I mean, I would take the change. It's like if I'm running.
Found it was clean as a whistle. We didn't find anything in the car.
That's what's weird about it, because okay, so here's the thing that's weird. They have kids. Let me go back here for a second. One case, I was trying to think of this. It may be in that Fiora, that, That damn case where that stupid guy killed her and then he chopped her up, put her into a fucking luggage thing. And then, oh, okay. Okay, we weren't thinking of something in this case. Okay, okay. I don't know what happened here exactly, but I mean, I would have think that he would clean up in the house, but because when he's doing the crime, he's gonna get bloody, right? Because he's like almost decapitating the kid. This thing, they showed the dead bodies on this one. I mean, they're showing the whole thing, which I mean, is it necessary? No, no, not in here because we're not trying to identify, like, Anyways, so the way that he did this gruesome crime, right? So he's going to be all bloody and everything. So he's going to need to take a shower. He's going to need to rid of evidence. And there's no need for him to bring, like if he had bloody clothes with him or anything. Well, he might have done that because he might have been like, well, if the house catches on fire and I don't want anything left over that would even indicate that I did it or something. He may have, this would be crazy if he did that. He may have gone then to like a car wash and did something. The other case, he actually went to, I believe, a car wash. Then he cleaned out his car and then he took off and then went in up towards the Canada border, right? So I don't know if this fool here would have then disposed of things that he didn't want left in the house just in case. Because you might want to do that. Just in case. Because think about it. You're like doing this crime, right? You're like, I'm going to like murder the shit out of my family, right? And then I'm going to light it on fire. But sometimes everything doesn't necessarily burn. So you're kind of like, do I want to take that chance? Probably not. I'm gonna fucking take my shit with me and I'm gonna rid but if you were suicidal, you wouldn't even really give too much shit about this, but if you need to rid of the the evidence, like the clothes you were wearing when you were doing it and the instrumental things that you used during it, right? So you're going to take it with you because you want nobody to think that you're the one that did it, just in case they find out, and they start looking for you or some bullshit, right? So then and if he had a change of plan, right, with the car, he's like, oh, I already got my car all cleaned up and, did the oil thing. You know what? I'm actually going to take this car because when they come, they'll think maybe the wife did it and, taking off, right? So then he goes and he may have it would be weird he went to a car wash because he would have to well, I mean, so he may have just thought like they're going to have some time to buy here, like for a little bit. He's taken off and he was long gone I should point this out. He had a lot of ahead time, right? So, he already killed them, went and got money, and he's taking off, and the gas thing didn't even happen yet, right? Like nobody knows nothing, so he's taken off. So he has plenty of time to go to a car wash or whatever he's going to do here. Toss, because he may have just done some type of cleaning thing. I don't know. I don't know if there was evidence of that or I don't know. I'm just saying. Then he like tossed like those items like somewhere else. He would have had to, like something. Where are they, right? Where's the clothes that he wore when he did the thing? So then, because let me see what they say.
He's not there. None of his guns are up there. No knife that he used to kill his kids. The car, when we found it, was clean as a whistle. We didn't find.
Yeah, so he has everything from the crime scene, like everything that he used, and the clothes too, including. But the other oddball thing.
Anything in the car. Our crime scene specialist went through that car.
There's like change there though. That's why I was like, why didn't you take the change? Like as stupid as that sounds, it's just like me, I'd be like, additional money. I was like, I'm just saying, it's just, does it look like they, oh no, it doesn't look like they wiped it down. Because if you look on the, it's actually kind of dirty. Dusty. What is that? I don't know if it's something that they did or if it was just kind of like that. Let me see, okay. I could the quarters be for a wash? Like for a wash, please. I was like, I don't know. I just think it's odd that there's quarters in here. Am I the only one? Because I was like, you know what? If I'm on the run and there's a bunch of quarters, but you know what? It could be that maybe he didn't know there was quarters in there. I don't know if it just looks as dirty because it is kind of dirty. There's a hair. There's a hair right here, isn't there? Isn't it? Or is that something in the back? Maybe it's something in the back. But it looked like a hair. Is it me? It looks like hair. If that's a hair, it's all like some woman's hair. And they're like, we couldn't find anything. And, oh my God. Oh, that's weird. Because it looks like a blonde hair. I would think it would be her hair. Maybe that's what they determined. It was just her hair. It could, okay, so a couple of things with this. I don't know why he would need, these look like quarter, they look like, actually the other things look bigger. What is going on here? Okay, let me go on. I got that snapshot. I'll take a closer look later. And this I couldn't figure out either. This is also, oh, I guess it's like a two-layer thing. Like the top opens and then the bottom opens. So then in the bottom, it's just, yeah, I didn't have any need for this because it's just compartments in the car.
The only thing that we could find was DNA on a hat and one fingerprint off of a coffee cup.
DNA on a hat and one fingerprint on a coffee cup. So yeah, so he went and got coffee. Did he have coffee from home or did he stop somewhere to get coffee? Probably made it. What a weird coffee cup. Is it metal? Who drinks coffee like that? In a car, it would spill all over the goddamn place. Look at one fingerprint and some DNA. Why is it dirty like that? It looks weird. Is it something that they put over it? Maybe they put some type of spray shit. They're like, we're looking for fucking shit up in here. I don't know what that is. It's like quite, I don't know.
And that was Robert Fisher's fingerprint. Not that that links him to a murder, but it puts him in that car.
There was human feces near the door of the 4Runner. Maybe a
So he took a shit like in front of the door. He's such a piece of crap, this guy. I can't believe anybody would be like, I still love this is like the whole thing about it.
final, sort of, take that sort of a statement to his previous life. That he went to the bathroom right by her car.
TJ talks about this witness, this lady that saw a guy that looked like Robert Fisher walking up the road with a backpack. I don't necessarily think that that occurred because I believe the dog would have followed.
Why didn't he?
So I think some of the thing with this, okay, wait, what does this guy say? This is the dry toast dude.
Take the dog with him. He left the dog by the car. Dog was not tied up to the car, but the dog made a bed underneath the car.
If a dog is trained and you tell him to stay, he will stay. But dogs also tend to run, if you take them out in the forest or out in an open area, they tend to explore. And that dog may very well have been out chasing a squirrel or something when he decided to leave. Because I believe that if he was going to walk away, he could have easily just tied the dog up.
Yeah, but he doesn't want to tie the dog up because then that's like a for sure thing the dog's going to probably die. So he leaves the dog untied so it has a chance to run off. You know how people just dump their animals and they think, oh, they'll be fine out in the wilderness. So he's leaving it to have a chance kind of sort of thing that he's not murdering the dog because he has like some sense of like, I kind of like you. I like you more than my kids. I didn't brutally murder you when I totally could have. And I'm gonna just leave you right here. Like, everything's an object. Do you see that? He's a straight up sociopath. Uh, the FBI will probably call him a psychopath. Okay, anyway, so, or he's just a hurt boy. I don't know. But anyway, he's a sociopath. So he sees things as objects. So he's looking at it like, I don't really have any need to kill, like, you're not in my way. There's nothing that you did to me that I want to really rid of, but I don't want to kill you because it doesn't have its thrill or anger. There's nothing in it to where he'd rid of it. But he would kill that dog if it was a thing where, like, he had no other, option. Like, I have to get rid of it because it's going to cause some problems. But if you see in the Chase Merrick case that he absolutely did not kill the dogs. He totally could have killed the dogs. He could have taken all the dogs and the family, and everybody would think that they all went on a vacation and took the animals, right? No, he's and they could be a problem because they're barking or, whatever. And he's just like, oh no, I came over. He used them as a tool to they were needed in his story, I guess, because he used them as a tool going, I came over to check on the dogs. It's like, yeah, because he had no other excuse to be going over there. So, that may be why he didn't kill the dogs, because they're part of his bullshit, right? Because they don't have any, as they said in here, like, it's not clicking with these people. It's like, he has no attachment with people. Like, that's totally normal. Like you shouldn't be worried about that. Like, that would be a total flag. He's controlling and abusive. And he's a Jesus man. It's like, yeah, right there. It's like, oh, I'm military, Like, like I said, the more flags the more you should be frightened of this shit. And mostly some guy trying to, like, tell everybody what to do, and so it's not gonna end well. And so, vice versa, if you see some dynamic of a woman doing that, like, I haven't seen too many cases of that. Like, I have seen them where they're like, they're the head inside the home and stuff like that, where they're taking care of the kids. But, like, the whole thing where what family members are like, she's very controlling, like Brittany's controlling, but, like, where they're like, she's just controlling, you gotta put up with it. No, but the church is not for that. So they would be like, you need to submit to your husband and, this crap. And so he's like, I expect you to do this. You're going to go by my strict rules because we're getting you ready to go into the military and murder people. That's how their mind is. You don't train kids to be like that. Sick. They're not going out into the war to kill people. That mindset is what causes this kind of crap. So, they may not all do this specific crime, but many of them are capable of it, but they have been violent. So I have my case with the stupid ass the Marine dude. Then you have all these other cases of them raping everybody, because the whole thing is right there, right? So they can't tackle it, and they won't tackle it, and they pretend like they don't understand why that's happening. Then they covered it all up, right? Mostly in the 91-2 portion, I pulled that case up. And then it just progressed, right? The more you don't fix something, the more rotten it gets. Rotten to the core it gets, because it's just like this, it's like this layer upon layer upon layer of something. And then eventually the whole thing topples down, right? So that's what's happening right now. It's been an ongoing process, even long before the 80s and stuff. It's just this long progression of abuse. It's like this thing. And then it just turns into this kind of garbage, and then it starts progressing into different things, and and they're all just sitting there like, video games? I'm like, it ain't video games, or any other thing like that. It is them. They're like, we thought, us as parents, we blame ourselves. I was like, yes, you should. Absolutely, you're right. Blame yourself. So it's just because they don't know what it is. They're clueless. And so, they're off, doing this thing, and they're like, oh, they got weak, from the devil, or, they're doing this bullshit. And it's like, oh, no, nope, Nope. Calculated. So he takes a shit by the car. And he doesn't care about the dog. I mean, he really doesn't. Like, deep down, he doesn't care about the dog. Who would do that to your pet? You know what I mean? Dog is a man's best friend. I was like, he's lucky he didn't kill the dog. He could have totally and just rid of it. Because he's kind of a problem in the story. Mostly when you're trying to escape your old life, right? Or you're killing yourself, right? Because if family side, that's the thing. You take out the entire family because you don't, nobody else can have it. Like the whole thing about it. So you take out the dog too, right? Because it's all part of the family. So there seems to be a plot here for something else. And that's why it's like, yes, I just find it interesting that change was left. But it could be that he didn't know the change was in the side thing. Or the change was used for something else. It didn't look like they cleaned it though. But I don't know what else they would do there. Why would why, okay, here's the thing. So if he took everything from the crime scene, why would he want to be strolling around with like bloody clothes and you know what I mean? Like you want to rid of it. They said that it was not in the house. They said there was no clothes in the house. I was like, what the fuck? What? So that indicated like a move out, a complete move out. But it didn't tell you when he did that though. That's kind of, there's something missing in the story.
And so it wouldn't follow him. But the dog was loose. And the other issue with the dog is, why would he bring the dog in the first place? There's been thought that perhaps the dog...
He didn't want to kill the dog. That's it. It's as stupid as that. He didn't feel the need to kill the dog. And for God knows why, but he didn't want it to die. Because if he wanted it to die, he would have killed it, right? So he leaves it loose, so it has a chance to live. That's really the simplicity of the answer to that thing. And the only other option, the only other variable would be that then he went somewhere and shot himself and the dog got scared and it ran back to the cart. That's it. Because he wanted to die with the dog. But, you know, with the dog by him or something. And maybe for someone to find him by the dog. But the dog's like, fuck it, and got scared and took off. Those are the only two variables to that, to the mindset of this guy here, because I could tell you. So then...
dog could be useful to him to alert him in case anyone was approaching. However, when you think that...
No. Who thought that?
I think the dog would be more of a detriment in that regard. The dog could bark at any number of things, and the dog could just as easily cause his detection as help him avoid detection. I think he brought the dog because he loved the dog more than his family.
The word love is misused here. I was like, the guy doesn't know what love is. He doesn't have love. It's like, I'm like, how can we explain it? Just an object that he enjoys using. It's his favorite tool in the shed. It's like a saw, right? Like you have all your tools, right? Guys know this. They have all their tools and then they have this one favorite tool, right? But would you really, like, you know what I mean? It's just an object. It's just an object, like the way how they feel toward it. They're not in love with it. Maybe some are, I don't know, but you're not really in love with it. It's just you enjoy using it and it really doesn't, like, what would be the reason to destroy it? Like, it just, yeah, I don't know. But for some reason, he didn't want to. So, and he easily could have. It would have been an easier thing for him to do that. Because it's a kind of a problem in the story, right? Because you're trying to take off. And even if you're going to go commit suicide, then what would you care? You wouldn't want anybody else, like, you know, the dog doesn't have a chance, right? The kids are actually a more important thing, right? Or typically in this thing, and they're not. Like, he needs to rid of them. And the old life. So yeah, I mean, the only thing is that he for whatever reason didn't feel the need to do it, and then he gave it a chance to live, which is really strange. I just think it's a strange thing that they did that. But yeah, but Chase Merritt did it. That's what I said, but he used it as a pawn. So this is kind of like possibly another pawn thing, like where they used it to go, oh, you know, I'm going to throw you off, and here's the dog in the car. So they're going to spend the whole time searching for him in the forest, thinking he's in the forest, but technically he's out somewhere else. If we go by the Chase Merritt brain of it, yeah, then it would be that thing, right? Because he didn't kill the dogs. Why didn't he kill the dog? Because they're kind of pawns in the damn thing, you know? Or he just has a general okay with the dog. He doesn't passionately hate dogs, like, you know. But they're still objects. They're still objects in this whole thing. They're used as a thing around the story. You can't tell me that no woman doesn't feel this from these guys. Like, I do all the time. I know when I'm used as, like, object by about 99.9999. You know what I mean? Like, the way, and even these guys that are talking on here, I could pull out. You have that problem, you have that problem, and you have that problem. And they're on the cases with guys with that problem. Okay. Yeah, yeah.
I think he led us right where he wanted to lead us, to a dead end.
Oh, I didn't realize the guy that, oh, he's from Fox News. No wonder. I was like trying to figure out, because when he was talking, he's like, you know, I was on the case like before I had kids, and then now I have kids, and it's even more serious. It's like, yeah, none of you guys have any, you don't see women as human or as equals, and you're, that didn't just develop overnight because you had kids. Anyway, that was ridiculous.
With his dog there and his Raiders cap in the truck to make us think. He went out in the wilderness and shot himself, but we never found the body.
That's what the guy from Fox thinks. Why did he take his hat off? He's like, he took his hat off. He decided he's going to take all his clothes with him. He's going to just leave his hat here. He's going to, you know. And then he went and shot himself. Like, why would he even bother to bring the shit with him, right? When you're suicidal, like, this is the thing. These people are so dumb. Okay, so when you're suicidal, why would the fuck would you care? Car's right there. Why would you even care bringing that shit? You know what I mean? Or you tossed it somewhere else earlier. Why would you bring all your clothes? That just wouldn't happen. You don't need them in the afterlife. That's the thing. That's the insane part of this. He's like, he went out and then shot himself. I was like, then you have to explain where the clothes went. Where the fuck is the clothes? I don't know how much clothes he has. I couldn't take all my clothes like that and walk with them. I have a closet and drawers. It would be like, I was like, I'm looking at it now and I'm just like, I need more drawers. I don't know how many clothes he had, but I would assume probably more than just a bag. And then the other stuff. It's like, at that point, who cares? You're dead. Like, you know, it's like, I'm not taking all that shit with me. Like, are you crazy? And it probably would have been a more smarter thing to leave the clothes in the house if you're going to light it on fire, right? Because then you want to really start confusion there. Why? Right? He's thinking of all these other things, but what is with that? See, that's the thing that leads you to he definitely is alive. Because, like, what the fuck? Like, that doesn't fit in any proper scenario here, you guys. So then, if that's the case, then who else is involved in that? Possibly. There is a possibly thing, because it's like, what the, you can't just, like, where are you taking all the clothes? You can't walk with your clothes out in the fucking forest, you guys. Like, that's a lot of clothes. I mean, even if it is a huge bag full, you see some guy walking with this huge, like, fucking thing, like, going down somewhere. The visual of this, okay? Because I know it sounds great when you're just talking about a story, but the actual visual and the physical capacity of bringing all your clothes in the fucking forest, okay? So that's why I'm like, there's a thing right there with that. And the other thing you don't know is when the clothes went gone, when they disappeared. Like, when did he move the clothes out? Was it before the killings? Was it after the killing? Right? So he may have did it before the killings, for all you know. He already moved out. Mentally. Yeah, he may have... See, they would need to backtrack in a different way, because you would need to know like what he did after work and what other activities were occurring for months prior where there was a possible pre-planned thing that in a future point that this would happen. Because he's entertaining it somehow. Like you just wouldn't wake up, you just wouldn't do all that. Like it's just you already thought you were entertaining it.
Very likely he committed suicide. He hung around, probably expecting the police to show up at any moment. They didn't, and he finally was ready to go.
I have no I don't know how these people come up with this, and they're men. Because all these men, they all are narcissists in this damn thing. I was like, every single one of them, we know more than women. And he's like, the guy, he's all suicidal, right? And he really gives a shit about the cops, really. He's like, yeah, he just sat around waiting for the cops. And then they didn't show up, so then he just blew himself up. I was like, what the fuck? No. This is why we can't solve anything, guys. We can't. Because these men are on the case, okay? I don't know who that guy is.
We tend to always find the body.
Maybe the animals got to him, or maybe the wolves.
Even then, you'll find a skull. Something will remain. You usually find it. My feeling is second vehicle or a way to get out of there or to hike somewhere to hit a...
Well, it is possible there was another person. I wouldn't disregard that. It's a possibility. Or he just had another place already in place, and then he traveled to that place a different way. So he may have already had like another place elsewhere, and then that's where all his clothes were and whatever, maybe some other belongings. It was already set in place before this. Then he did that, and then somehow traveled to that. That's the only other thing that I was like thinking about, because I was like, okay, but where's this fucking clothes, you guys? Because you gotta answer that. And why would a suicidal person bring all their fucking clothes? I'm not bringing my clothes. That's too much, you know what I mean? Like, my thoughts are like, if you're in that mindset, you're just like, that's the last of your concern. You wouldn't think about it. You just don't want it. They leave their phones behind. They leave everything. Why would you bring your fucking clothes? Everything out of your closet. I've never heard of that in any case. In any suicidal case. Never, ever, ever. That's not a thing.
Road and hitchhike out.
And I also don't know if he would hitchhike, because where's it with all those clothes? And if he did, somebody by now, because if you guys recall the other story with the Brian Laundrie, when he was doing that, where it sounded so absurd that it was hard to believe at the beginning. But yeah, he was actually, I guess, fucking hitchhiking. But people were saying they saw him, right? So, okay, so here, if he was doing that, then somebody would have came forward, and because they want, some people even want more of the attention of that, right? And they could be wrong that it wasn't him. But where are all these stories going, God, I picked up this guy, hitchhiking right over here. I don't think he did that. Wait, okay, but I'm trying to figure, I want that little comment of he took all his clothes.
Hang on, boy.
See, to me, he's just, he's awkward.
Boy, guys, Santa brought you a good surprise, huh, Brett?
Brett, there's one more thing that goes over here. Hooks onto here. It's a carriage where like 4 people, you and 3 of your friends, could sit on it and swing, but it's not put together yet.
After everything.
Night. And he goes, hey Bob, come on out here and help me put the slide on. So I had to come out here. His reindeer are parked in the backyard, and I had his thing to put the slide on with them.
I also noticed, which is kind of creepy, and I don't know why it is, but all the videos so far has him focus highly on the daughter. That could lead you to think some other stuff too. It's really bizarre. I don't know if anybody noticed that. Yeah, and him like ordering her around. And kind of, he doesn't, a little bit with the little boy, but he's very, like, I don't know if it's just because of the splicing that they did of this, but he's heavily focused on the daughter. And so even right now, like in this one, like they're taping the little boy.
Say more push.
But they had to, but he continually kind of does this thing. So I don't know.
I'm hoping there's another story out there that the FBI just hasn't concentrated on yet, and that there might be another answer to this. He was presumed guilty from 3 days after this tragedy. No
yeah,
other
well, he should be.
situations
so,
have
like,
been
he's not
looked
even
at
there.
since then. I'm hoping that it's not Robert.
What are the chances that Fisher didn't do this?
As an investigator, my first response to that is, why is he hiding them? Why did he take off? Why did he take all of his clothing when he took most of his stuff from the house?
See that. Thank you. That. So, but we don't know when he did that. And that's kind of the problem with this, because I'm like, okay, if it's a pre-planned thing, he may have already had things set up in place. How is he running with all his shit on a fucking in the forest? You guys, FBI is just like, oh, we don't really. It's like, okay, there's only a few possibilities here.
And took off and ran.
Go back.
Another answer to this. He was presumed guilty from 3 days after this tragedy. No other situations had been looked at since then. I'm hoping that it's not Robert.
What are the chances that Fisher didn't do this?
As an investigator, my first response to that is, why is he hiding them? Why did he take off? Why did he take all of his clothing when he took most of his stuff from the house and took off and ran?
Most his stuff. So think about that. Like, how much is this stuff? Like, you have to like visually get this. Like, how much stuff did he have? I doubt he only had like 10 items of clothing, and that's all how he lived in his house. Okay, like, there's a thing right here. You're missing. You're missing FBI. You're missing. I was like, I mean, he knows about it. He's talking about it. But when they're talking about the story, like, does it make sense that he went into the forest and he took all his belongings and hitchhiked somewhere, or, you know, this thing? So it's only leading you to a couple of things here. Like, I would actually almost axe that. I don't want to completely axe it out, but it doesn't really fit here because of all the stuff. It depends how much stuff he has, but I'm pretty sure it's more than just a backpack. And even still, that's friggin' ridiculous. So he's taking all his stuff. He goes and puts the car there, but you don't know if did they check to see if there was another car trail like next to this vehicle or any. I mean, I know they saw the other thing, but that if anybody followed with him, and then, or if any, I don't know. They didn't say anything else about anybody else at the crime scene. They didn't say that. If there could be another woman involved here, there could be a man involved here, but also they don't have the series of events maybe in place. Like, he was slowly building another life somewhere else, and he was taking stuff, and maybe the stuff was already taken before this incident, or that when he did this incident here, he already had a plan in place to where he's going to go, and perhaps he actually went there first, dropped off all the crap, kind of wiped out. Maybe he could have wiped down some stuff. It didn't look very clean in the car either, but anyway, then came back and then did this plot, and then returned back over to the location where he went to. Because it could be like that, because they're thinking maybe he went straight over to this area and then did that. Which it actually could be a whole different thing, where he went somewhere else first, jumped things off, then did this little thing, then did this little setup plan, did that, and then traveled back to where he was, wherever all his other shit was. Because I can't imagine somebody bringing all their shit into the middle of the forest and then trying to like walk off with it. And you wouldn't kill yourself with all your shit right there. So I'm just saying, guys, there's a portion here that's missing that they're kind of not getting, or they're not thinking about. Yeah, the dude has a double life. He be off somewhere. I don't know where. And then you would think when you have situations like this, right, where it's like, over 20 years now, right? What the fuck? You would have to go to the doctor sometimes. You need, you know what I mean? Like, shit happens, right? You can't stop yourself from getting sick, like where you might need medical help or something with the humanity here. So, it's possible. Then I mean, I don't know how they took off out of the country. I mean, people were thinking into Mexico and stuff. I was like, yeah, I mean, that could be too. And, or he did enter into Canada later, or he's just here. He's just here and he's going under other, bullshit now. But yeah, I mean, that makes more sense than he went out into the forest and then he killed himself and he brought all the shit with him. I was like, what? Well, you're gonna find a pile of shit out there somewhere, It just, that would be the most mentally, that would be the first case I ever heard of somebody doing that. Honest to God, it would be. It just doesn't make sense with the mindset of a suicidal person. It doesn't. It just doesn't. Because at that point, they don't care. It's just, who cares? I'm not here anymore. They can't do anything to me. So who cares if they thought it was me or not? They might try to hide that it was them, but it's kind of like you would leave your clothes, right? Because then it would seem like maybe you got kidnapped and somebody else, came up in here. Nope. No, there was some type of plan, and there's somewhere where he had to go take his shit. Yep. Yeah, so that place could be a secondary location where he went after the fact and then did that and then went back over to wherever he was going to go. Yeah, there could be another woman or a male in here. That aided. That's possible. Or he just did it himself. He just set up another. I mean, you would think, he would have to use his original ID unless he already obtained some false. I don't know. But those things could be in here. Okay, so by the tail end of this, I think I got it. I think I have an idea. I'm like, I just have an idea. The word is idea. So he had to leave the dog because if he's seen with the dog because they're looking for him, that would be a indicator that he's who he is, right? So the dog cannot be around him. He doesn't want to kill it, but he can't keep the dog because they're going to start looking for him, and then other people will notice the dog because you have to walk the dog. You have to take the dog out. The dog's a problem, right? Also, so now you have a timeline. You do have a timeline. So here's what you have to figure out in this timeline. I got it. But it's not as easy as you think. So in this timeline, he has hours and hours of being able to drive to a location, a different location, maybe not the one where they think. Where they found the car, right? So think of it this way. So he drives all the way. It could be like 4 hours away. I have no idea. Okay. It could be 4 hours away because they must have a general timeline of like, we're missing, I don't know, maybe 10 hours from the time that the house blew up or the possibility when he did it and he took off. And then when they figured it out and they started looking for him to the time that they found the car, right? So in between this time period, I wouldn't go too far out because he's going to think that it happened right away probably because you don't know when it's going to explode. So he has a certain amount of time. So the $280 will make maybe a little more sense in this. In the sense that even if he took more money and he put it elsewhere, he'd been shoving it over in a different location, possibly. And he takes the $280 and he has to use it for gas to go drive. Maybe he drove like 4 hours out or something. Then he drops off all the crap. Maybe he got rid of evidence. He could have also got rid of evidence in the forest, but they didn't go further out searching for that, maybe. But anyway, he's jumping off something over there. Then what he does. Then he takes the gas thing. Then he drives and does this plot, right? Because he has to get rid of the dog. He totally has to get rid of the dog. Now it's a definite has to get rid of the dog because someone's going to recognize him. So he's like, okay, I'm going to drive over to this location, dump the dog off, do this thing, and then I don't know how he would get back to the other place. Now, this is where another person could come in, because we don't know where a secondary location is, and either another person came and got him, or he somehow maneuvered out and took, anything, taxi, bus, something, you know what I mean? Like some other way that he then went back to this other location. I doubt he's going to want to do anything where he's seen by other people too much, because in his mind he would be like, oh, someone's going to recognize me. So it is making me think, like, there's a possibility somebody else came with them, because they could have actually took things out of the car and stuff prior to doing that situation. It's a last thing, to rid of everything else, right? Before you really go on the run. So there may be another woman in it. There may be. I mean, that's my thinking of it, because I'm trying to think, because it's almost like the Chase Merritt thing where people were asking, like, how did he get back? And when he jumped the other car, yeah, I was saying there was a number of ways he could have just taken public transportation. It wouldn't have been nobody would have thought twice about it. Nothing. I mean, it would have just been nothing. Or one of the women in there who's lying in the family, girlfriends, whoever, could have done helped him back or something. You know what I mean? Yeah. So isn't that like the only few possibilities for something like that? I mean, there was a possibility he could have hitchhiked, but that would be really dumb as hell if you're going through all this, right? So there's some other. It would lead you to believe that there's another location, and it was within this vicinity of the time period for him to come and drive back and drop it off. So at least it narrows it down, like there was some other place. Because the stuff thing, you guys, that one right there, that's the clue. And the oil thing, yeah, my thinking on that was like maybe originally he was going to use his car and then just decided to use the other. Yeah, I know it seems like totally oddball, like where you're just like, why would he change the oil of his car and then blow it up, or light it on fire, and it's like, yeah, it wouldn't make sense, but I do find it to be highly coincidental that he would even change oil on the day that this happened anyway, right? So another possibility was that maybe the original plan was take his car, but then when the crime happened, he was thinking, oh, I should take her car. And then when they don't find, because everybody will be charred, right? This is his plot, right? To char everything out, and there's going to be nothing left, and I'll take her car and they'll think that she did it. Totally. I mean, that's a reasonable plot right there. So yeah, I'm just thinking it was just maybe a afterthought, like as the crime is occurring, like, oh, I have a better idea. But yeah, so that could explain the dog dumping, because he can't be seen with the dog. That's it. I think I'm going to conclude to that. Like, even if he'd wanted to keep it, it's just he just can't keep the dog. It's just he just didn't want to kill it. But he can't keep the dog, because it would be the biggest indicator who he is. So, yeah, I believe there's possibly somebody in it. Possibly. I don't know where else he can go, how he could purchase that one. I don't know how far a vicinity he could have went. They made some comments in here, like the time frame, like the car could have been dumped between 3 to 5 days there. So he may have been in another location. He's watching the news. But I think he probably did this right away. I mean, within whenever he went to straight there, put all his crap over somewhere else, and then was like, he has to get rid of the car. I mean, there's no way he could be running around that freaking car. And I don't know where he could possibly go with that car without anybody seeing it. That's another thing. But nobody's technically really looking for it. I mean, maybe in a different state. I think he did have time to drive outside the state from the time the house exploded. So what could happen there is that he could have gone right just outside the state line and then did that and then drove it. I mean, I wouldn't want to be driving back in the middle of that, but he was doing it in the middle of... I would limit the time frame, because I would think he would do this right away. I mean, as quickly as he could possibly do it. Went somewhere at night, jumped off stuff. Well, he did this in the middle of the night. So he would drive that car wherever in the middle of the night, jump that stuff off, drive back. Could have slept. I mean, he could have slept in that area. I don't know why he would just sleep in the area. But anyway, you drive it back and then somehow leave. Something like that. Like, you'd have to think about that one for a minute. I don't know the exact timeline, but I would think that he would do it right away. Like, you're not going to be pilfering around going, oh, you know, should I get rid of the car? It's like, no, you're going to do what you need to do. And then once you're done with that, you're going to hurry up, jump the car, and then you're going to be out of there, and that's the end of it. You're not going to be, like, I don't think he hung around. I don't know how he was able to do that thing by the door thing, but that's just the nastiness of that. Yeah. That may be the scenario. That's a plausible scenario, but you got to figure out where you would have went to. That's a problem, because when you have a timeline that open of even just hours, it's like you can only go so far in that period, and then you have to figure the time frame to go there and back. And so then from there, you have to start scoping within that circle of things first. But it's been 20 years, dude. They didn't even think of that or something. I don't know. But he could still be sitting there living like 10 hours away, like, for real. I mean, I don't know if he would be, but stranger cases, right? There are serial killers still living in the same area. But those ones, they don't know what they look like necessarily. Like, they'll do sketches, but this one, they know specifically who it is. So I would almost think you'd be a little bit more in danger by doing that. But you just never know with these people. They could be in some freaking city just 10 hours away, and he's been living in a trailer somewhere out there on someone's property or with some woman in some house somewhere. And, like, no one even thought of it because they didn't, you know, some other reason, you know. Because maybe, I mean, I don't know what he would do to disguise himself. Like, he could grow a massive beard, I guess, maybe, and some other stuff that would really throw you off.